Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I invite you to like and share with as many people as you feel that could benefit from the information that is contained in this and many of the other videos that I have. Today, I'd like to share with you some of the many downloads, as I like to call them, regarding primary emotions and primary emotional states. I feel it's a pretty good place to begin. So, let's start there. Primary emotions. From the many years of working with people, there are a set of emotions and emotional states that come up constantly. And I like to categorize them into two groups: primary emotions and primary emotional states. The primary emotions consist of five states, or five primary emotions: love, fear, hope, trust, and forgiveness. There are also five primary emotional states, and they consist of will, cooperation, truth, balance, and abandonment. Together, these 10 emotional states are the foundation. What I find, they play such an integral role, an integral part in how healing takes place within a person, whatever that healing means to them. As I go through each of these emotions and emotional states, I'll just briefly touch upon some of the points that I have come up, but I will go into them a little bit deeper once I get into specific illnesses. So let's begin with the primary emotional state of love. Love is the primary emotional state. It resides in everything. Everything that is alive, everything, whether it's a plant or an animal, whether it's human, whether it's a bird, love has to exist. And so I like to say, where there is love, there is life. Now, love is not just about positive energies. It has negative energies as well. And this is simply because love is balance. And because of that love, that balance, it is the only emotion, irregardless of what the emotion is, whether it's primary or an emotional state, it is the only emotion that cannot be manipulated. It can be increased or decreased, but never manipulated. All lessons in life are rooted in love. Now, the energy of fear. This is a primary emotional state that many people would think, well, how can this be a primary emotional state? Fear is not something great. But what I've discovered is fear has a great purpose. It was originally meant to give us pause, act as a caution. And when we look at it in that terms and not the preventative, the getting in the way of, stopping us, that many of us have come to realize what fear means for them today, we see that this primary emotional state is there because of our free will, so that we don't get into problems. It resides primarily in the conscious mind, as I find, but even more interestingly, it is the baseline of every illness. Now, hope. I like this energy. Hope is the possibilities energy. Everything that you create has to do with hope. It is a foundational support. It is the what would you like to create? And not only does it apply for positive things that you would like to create, but also negative things. For example, in the states where you have hopeless or hopelessness, that is still a creating energy, although all being that it is a negative energy, but it still creates. Where I find this particular primary energy resides the most is in the sacral chakra, in both male and female. This is a creation energy. And so our next energy, primary emotional energy, is trust. Trust is like the building block in every aspect of the body. When I look at it, it's like protein. And protein is a building block for cells. And when I see trust, I look at, well, in order for something to manifest, there had to be a belief system. And if there was a belief system, then that means that there had to be a relationship which requires trust. Trust, I find, not only resides within the root chakra, or primarily resides within the root chakra, it resides in all of the skeletal structures. So when we have trust issues, it's pretty hard when you're going into relationships to develop or to manifest or to create. Now, the final primary emotional state is forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is not really emotion, but it is key in this particular category. So many of us have been told, don't let go of things. Oh, you gotta remember this. And yet, we're always, in theory, taught, well, we need to forgive, we need to let go. But most of us don't. We can't let go. And in that not letting go, we then do not digest. We do not eliminate these energies. So truly, when I talk to people about forgiveness, it is the magical key. It's like this key that goes into the solar plexus where all the emotions are processed and unlocks it and lets things go. So, forgiveness, key point, a very useful tool, but it is, and I put it into that category, it is a primary emotional energy. So, that's the primary emotional energies. Now, let's go into the primary emotional states. Will. Will is a motivator. It primarily sits within the root chakra, and in particular, I find it hits within the hip and the thigh area. This is an action response. So in order for there to be a response, in order for there to be an interaction with another person or a place or an event or whatever, you need to have this motivating energy of will. And when there's a lack of it, then there is a lack of opportunities to want to learn. So we want to make sure that this will energy, this, whether it's free will, whether it's willpower, that this primary emotional state is helping to get us into lessons, get us into interacting with people. Now, this primary emotional state, cooperation, it's kind of a very interesting one that had come up quite a few times. I found it most coming up within the liver, within the solar plexus area, within the digestive system. And it really works with the aspects of our lives where we have to cooperate with those things that we don't particularly like. And yet they serve as a go-between, as a bridge, so to speak, between lessons of love, where, yeah, we always want to stay in positive life lessons, but sometimes we need to experience those negative life lessons in order to grow, in order to have that perfect balance within our lives. And we'll talk about balance in a little bit, because that is also another primary emotional state. Now, truth. Truth, I look at and I see truth as spiritual food for the physical body. Where I find truth the most is in the throat chakra. When we digest a situation or digest words that are saying or have been said to us, this comes in through our throat chakra. And so when we bring in that truth energy, or when we speak that truth energy, it helps to aid in our seeing not only of our experiences, but accepting a bigger picture. When we have digested untruth or inflamed truth or false truth, that's when we run into problems. That's when we have inflammation within our body. Now, the next primary emotional state, balance. It has a motto, I find. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In other words, when we interact with another person, an event or situation, there's an emotion derived from that. And we act upon that emotion, or we digest that situation. And in doing so, there's always a balance to whatever happened in that emotional energetic exchange. And so this is what drives our lives, is this balance. That for something that is negative happening, there is always the opposite, a positive thing that happens, which is really nice because this primary emotional state, it resides a lot within the heart chakra, works very closely with the balance of love energy. So that's one that I really, really like. Now, the final primary emotional state is abandonment. This is a tough emotional state. It is one that we will all experience at some point in time in our lives. When I see abandonment coming up within working with somebody, I am looking at large volumes, large segments within a person's life or core themselves, emotions needing to be moved out. This is why I call this abandonment, this primary emotional state, the master lessons. This is when we go through a lot of difficult lessons of love within our lives. And it primarily resides within the root chakra, the crown chakra, not the root, it's got to be in the crown, because we are constantly wanting to get back to spirit, to connect. So there you have it. There are the primary emotions and primary emotional states. Now, I've just gone over them a little bit here. I will touch upon them again throughout more videos when I discuss in depth about the systems of the body, different illnesses, what emotions and primary emotions or emotional states that are affected within all of these illnesses. And hopefully you'll get a better understanding of how you live your life and how you interact with people, with things, with events, and how they have an impact, how that energy, that emotional energy is digested within you, and how it manifests who you are. Not just the illness aspect, but also the positive aspect. And so until then, talk to you soon.